Marryam Moma. I'm a visual artist with a current core focus on collage art. I come from a family of seven. I'm half Nigerian, half Tanzanian. I grew up in Nigeria and started my formative years here in the US. I moved to Philly to go to architecture school. So I studied architecture at Temple Tyler. Just a wonderful experience. It's a 5-year program. And literally, at that point, I started to use collage as a means to develop building ideas and to brainstorm around my projects. And I fell in love with collage. And just culturally, the place that I was in Philly, being the 1% of the 1% of Black women in that program, I got really like interesting questions around my heritage, where I was from, where did I grow up, and things that were perpetuated in the media that people didn't know or understand. And at that point, I took kind of a position to teach, tailor, and take control of those narratives, rather than being really upset and walking off and leaving people more ignorant than they started the conversation. And so with that being said, telling those stories, I kind of was like, I can use this to do that in a really positive way. And that was when my journey with collage started. I wouldn't say I was serious right away. It took me, I don't know, a good part of a decade and a half to say, this is it. This is it for me. Yeah, so I feel like I've been doing collage for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your first collection? What was the first story that you wanted to tell?
Ooh, that's a great question because I did one-off collages. I think my very first, I would call series. So Art Basel was 2019, and I had done Her at Zucot prior to that. It was called the Her exhibit. I exhibited with another, I think, 6 Black female artists. The curator at the time was Lauren Jackson, and the ask was to create a body of work for this exhibition, and it was amazing. I did self-portraits around that project. And I think for the first time, I had let myself to be vulnerable around the work. It wasn't like this representative you were meeting or what you thought Marryam should be or is. I did the self-portraits to tell my story, to underline body positivity, to talk about Black women in a place of strength, to talk about rest as resistance, to talk about self-love. So that was a really like experiential moment. Definitely the first time I partook in building a full series and a body of work.
Okay, thank you. While we're speaking about your collections, I'd love to talk about Mother's Milk and like what was the concept behind that?
Ooh, that's a hot one. That's a hot one. That's a hot plate. Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk comes from a series that I've created, also a large body of work of about 14 pieces that were within a 3-person group exhibition at Co-Art Space in Lagos, Nigeria. The show was built around me. It was curated by a really dear friend. And I was in my 3rd trimester. I was pregnant. I couldn't fly. My doctor was like, absolutely not. You're not going. You can send the work though. So that was the first time I did a piece that size. That piece is 8 foot by 8 foot. And so within that story, while it was really, the umbrella show was talking about 3 Black women and the manner in which we manifest with paper and how we work in collage and the style and the medium. And then personally for me, I took the story a little bit further and I wanted to talk specifically about motherhood. I was pregnant. I was having all these creative ideas. It was very precarious for me because I had like 5 large fibroids while I was pregnant with Edric. I never knew or never understood how many Black women suffer from fibroids. During that time, I found 1 in 5 women that I would tell my story would say, oh my God, my sister did. I did. I had a hysterectomy. I had a myomectomy. I was like, why don't we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what empowered me. I said, I need to tell this story. I need to tell it in a really beautiful way. I need to make space for Black women to feel safe to talk to each other and not make this the norm.
Mm-hmm.
To have that amount of like pressure on your body, and while you're carrying life, I had fear around miscarriages. I had,
Yes.
you know, it was a lot, and I was like, we need to talk about this more. I did a workshop around it with a
Mm-hmm.
gynecologist here in the city, answering questions around Black women's health.
Mm-hmm.
I found so many things that I had no idea within the healthcare system, and I also experienced myself. And I was like, this is a lot. We
Mm-hmm.
need to talk more about this. We need to educate. We need to empower women. We need to encourage people to speak up that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, it happens to occur more prevalently in Black women. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure that out. I eat healthy. I do all the right things, but that, it was just there. And by the grace of God, Edric came out natural birth. I was very thankful. But after that was a long process of healing. So the work became even more important
Mm-hmm.
because I suffered from having those fibroids after his birth for about 8-9 months, and I ended up having 2 surgeries to like kind of restore my health back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
where that series kind of was started. And Mother's Milk is one of 14 pieces.
All
Mm-hmm.
right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
As a storyteller myself, I really picked up on in the very beginning. You mentioned being vulnerable in your
Mm-hmm.
story, and also documenting stories of Black women
Mm-hmm.
and our experiences. How has it felt for you to be vulnerable in such a public way through your art?
You know, honestly, I think just within the experience, I had to let myself soften
Mm-hmm.
so people can really understand and connect with the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I shed the representative. We all have one. And to really open up and say, this is me, this is it, this is my heart on a plate.
Mm-hmm.
Do with it what you will. But I felt like that is what I needed to not only like open myself up to the world, but to empower the work that I was producing.
Mm-hmm.
If my heart wasn't in it and I wasn't ready to be that open, I think people would have felt that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
true. All right. So I've been told that you are trained as an architect.
Yes.
How do you see your formal training existing in your collections and your artwork?
Oh my God, it's everywhere. So, like the discipline, the formality, the cleanliness of the work, the balance, the
Mm-hmm.
hues, the textures, the choices, even the materials are all influenced by my study and practice of architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's so many great collage artists, even here in the city. I know a couple of them. Their work is really beautiful, but we manifest in a completely different way. And I think that has a heavy influence on the way my work turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I had someone ask me if I was using a machine to cut, and I was like, no. No, I'm not. But where did I learn that? I did technical
Mm-hmm.
drawing in architecture school, and part of the ask was cutting cardboard and making house miniature size models
Mm-hmm.
out of them. That is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of material intelligence that you have to do over and over again. Imagine how many flowers I had to cut to get some of the the pieces that you saw
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
show.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, indeed, very meticulous in your craft. So let's talk about home and family.
Hmm.
Where are you from, and like who are your people?
Okay, so I'm half Nigerian, half Tanzanian.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Nigeria. I moved here while I was 16 to
Mm-hmm.
study architecture. Um, my familyhood, my bond with my sisters, my father passed away. God rest his soul. I have a twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
We are thick as thieves, like white on rice. We are so close. They were all there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got a chance to meet them at the exhibit, but we've always been together. We've done everything together as a family. I would say I live a very sheltered life growing up into
Mm-hmm.
my teenage years, but I live a very well-rounded life. We traveled together. We learned languages together. We did like the world, when they say the world was your oyster, that is the experience that I grew up in terms of familyhood. We're very close knit. Those are my people. And now I came to Atlanta after so long of my sister saying, "Are you tired of your box in New York? There's more space here. You should move." And I was like, okay. And finally I left. So I moved from New York. I had a year in Shanghai, and then I moved here to Atlanta and I met Kevin. And we were friends for quite some time. And then we fell in love, and the rest is history. We have a 1 year, well, he's 16 months now, but his name is Edric. And I built a family of my own too. So it's really wonderful. And I think it empowers, and it's one of the big engines behind my work. I want to talk about Black legacy and joy and generational wealth and togetherness and sisterhood. And these are things that comes directly from my foundation, right? I think there's not enough of those stories of seeing Black body in rest, seeing a Black body around family. I want to share that part of our existence and document it.
Yes, Black joy is a revolution.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So you had a very successful opening for Iconoclass. Hey, how are you feeling today?
Amazing. Over the moon.
Good. Talk to me about Iconoclass, and also what is the concept behind it? What was the vision for this?
So I started that project, I would say a few years ago, during an art residency that I was awarded. I didn't know it would turn out to be what it was yesterday. It was the beginnings of an idea a few years ago. All I knew was that I wanted to make a space to talk about Black bodies that I considered to be revolutionary, be it in their craft, in the way that they added to society and humanity and the global platform at large. I definitely wanted to use collage as a vehicle to embrace, to be a redemptive space, especially for some of my subjects that I have in the series, to make space for reconciliation and to kind of bring it full circle that we too, even in our own individual spaces, as observers of the work, can be iconoclasts. And so the name was born, I would say 2-3 months ago, together with my creative director. I was looking for the perfect word to describe a disruptor, a door opener, a path paver. Who are those breaking glass ceilings? Who are those that have left legacies way long after what they did that was earth-shattering, like shifted spaces in the way we Black people move today. And those subjects that I chose have done that in their respective fields.
Thank you. So speaking about collaboration, talk to me about the collaboration that you had for the exhibition yesterday. I know that you worked with Rodney Love Jones. How did that collaboration come about?
You know what? Me and Rodney, we met, I want to say 5 years ago. And we've always been drawn to each other. He's just a wonderful spirit and just a hugely, deeply creative soul. And honestly, it took, several dances. We worked in different capacities, and we recognized this works. There's a synergy here that cannot be replicated. Or if I wasn't there and someone else was there, it wouldn't be the same energy. And if Rodney wasn't there and someone else was my creative director, I don't think it would be the same energy. He channels out of me things that I want to say, and that's the role of the creative director. He, gives me like these beautiful spaces to be free, to be able to manifest the work that I see in my head. So I'm so thankful for that.
Yes, you two make a great team. So you have several murals around Atlanta. Talk to me about your mural work.
Okay. I'm a baby muralist. I admit it, but it's good. It's a good thing. Yeah, we crawl, we walk, and then we fly. I have, I think, one of my first mural projects is a pillar project at the Art Promise Center. It's a juvenile center, educational center. and I did a mural speaking about that neighborhood and how to like uplift it and empower it. It has the words lead and thrive on it, which I thought was really important for the children to see. That was also very collaborative because I met several times with the children at the Promise Center to come up with the ideas for the mural. That project was through MBAF and the city of Atlanta. So it was a really great space to be in and to be able to create that. And then another more recent one, I did the Student Innovation Lounge for Dell Technologies and Home Depot at Clark, Atlanta. So it's standing today, it's inside the building. It's a really lovely space. And that was a really great project. And then one really important one I did in collaboration with Joe King. He's an architect and also an artist in the city. I had this idea to put up a mural, transitory mural. It was on the cusp of the 2020 presidential elections. And the area, the location I chose to put that mural was in a very impoverished area of the city where I feel like Black voices felt that their word didn't count, their vote didn't count. So it was a huge piece that says vote. That was the main mural, but the collage in it, which all my work starts with 100% paper, and I make the collage and then it's mural, was a piece titled Vote. It was of President Obama. When you see it, even though he's facing the back, you know it's him. And it's so empowering and so patriotic. The color choices, the floral choices, all the elements were very well thought out. And it ended up being a mural right before the elections to really say, like, each voice counts to make this vote what we want it to be. And so please go out and vote. So that was very encouraging. And it was a really great project to do at the time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So thinking about legacy. So part of when I think about your work and the intention behind your work on documenting a woman's experience and sometimes a mother's experience, I would love to talk about legacy and what, first of all, legacy in general, with you creating and putting forth, birthing these artworks. Let's start there.
Okay, so in terms of legacy, I'm very, very intentional about the subjects and the subject matter and the series and the stories that I tell. I want my work to live way longer than I've been here on this earth, telling a story about Black empowerment, about women in rest, about Black women softening and still being deemed powerful, about even Black men, Black fathers. I mean, Kevin is a huge inspiration in my art. You may not see his face in it, but the manner in which he runs this household is incredibly influential to my work. It puts me in a space to be free. And that is very empowering. I think telling stories around this narrative that every, Black mother is a single mother who's come from a broken home and those types of stories. I'm not here to perpetuate that. I haven't lived that life. My parents were married for over 27 years.
Right.
So coming from those types of spaces, I use the work to tell that, right? And that's the legacy that I want to leave. And I hope that people will see that and want to do more than I left behind. In some of my work, it's very it's a call to action sometimes based on whatever it is that I'm speaking about. I did a series for Pop Science, nationally distributed Pop Science magazine, and it was a commission of 3 pieces. In that story is a story of St. James Parish where there was a huge situation of environmental racism going on. They were inviting huge plastics manufacturing giants into a predominantly Black neighborhood to build these factories. And statistically speaking, Black bodies were dying up to every 18 months. There would be a huge wave of deaths from cancer because of the plastics in that commune. And not only that, this specific story where that plant was going to go was on top unmarked slave burial grounds. So there was, and to add this was all on the backdrop of COVID. so in the works that I manifested, when we come back to the question around legacy, I did one of this in the three. I did a periodical piece because you can see the bodies in that piece wearing masks. It dates you back. It's not a date, but it is a date because you can say, "Oh my God, that was during Corona." It tells you immediately. It gives you like some kind of situational awareness around the work, and it all comes together. So in terms of legacy, I want to be remembered as an artist that was sensitive to the times within the work as well. Right? That's important.
Wonderful. And in another way, thinking about legacy, I would love to know, how do you uh, create a creative? Like, how do you make space for your child to also be a creative? And like, where did that show up in your upbringing as well?
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to answer the first question. So I spend a lot of time with Edric in here, not so much in the last few weeks in preparation of the show, but when I'm not under the gun, like he'll have his playpen in here and we'll spend some time together and he can see me working. He might not understand it, but I think as he grows older, he'll get to familiarize himself with the space, which is very, not very different from the way I was raised. My mother was a practicing architect, very much like me. She had a huge studio space in the house. She would draw, and she's Tanzanian, so for her, tea, even at 4 o'clock in the hot Nigerian sun, she's like, "Bring my tea, and you come here, let me sketch you." And we would sit with her, and she would draw us and sketch us while she was taking a break and having her tea in the hot sun. But that was her thing, and literally, that's how I fell in love with architecture. I was like, she is living it up. She's comfortable and loves what she does. I want to do that, whatever that is. And that's how I end up studying architecture. But I think the more and more I bring my son around the work and not make him feel like this is a closed off space, it'll be a welcoming thing. I think he'll take that on naturally and be, want to be around the work. And children are curious. He's 15 months now, but I expect a whole lot of questions when he gets older. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you. I love that. I love that. Especially the scene of your mother. I can picture. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's up next for you?
Oh, so some rest. Yes, I think that's really important to reset and revitalize. Spending time with family, as always. And then I have 2 projects coming up. I can't say very much. I can say though, one is in the Grand Cayman Islands, which is really exciting. And then I have another one here in Atlanta it opens up Art Week. It's with Rodney Love Jones. Yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. It's with a huge conglomerate of an organization. We can't say the name. I can't say the name, but it comes out as open October 1, which is kicks off Atlanta Art Week. So I'm really excited. Really excited to work on that.
Yes, I can't wait to see it. I'll be back this way to check you out again. How about...
Oh, and let's see, one last project. I'm really excited to take my work also outside of Atlanta. I will be exhibiting in Dallas. So I'll be working with Pencil and Paper Gallery, also being creatively directed by Rodney Love Jones.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that.
I love the Black collaboration, the creation, the connection of pasts to futures and presents. So I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting us in your studio.
Of course.
Are there any other things that you want to share with us before we go?
To my peers, artists, never stop dreaming and be open to miracles, because they have. Yesterday was one. It was so amazing. I'm so thankful. And to emerging collectors, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask 21 questions. And I think after that first buy, after that first piece, you'll find more and more work that comes to you in your style, in the manner in which you see beauty, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But I think we have to take that first step. Even Kevin and I are emerging collectors, but we ask a lot of questions around the work that we collect. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. Thank
Nice.
you.